Bonjour, je suis fière d'être ici sur le terrain des peuples autochtones, les peuples Algonquins. We're here on the traditional territory of the Algonquin Nation. My name is Elizabeth May. I'm the Member of Parliament for Saanich Gulf Islands. But this press conference has been called wearing my other hat, leadership candidate in the leadership race of the Green Party of Canada. I'm really, really pleased to introduce to the Ottawa Press Gallery for the first time my running mate. We're running to be co-leaders of the Green Party of Canada, Jonathan Pedneault. Jonathan Pedneault est un jeune homme extraordinaire. Je suis très fière de travailler avec lui. Maintenant, il vient de Îles-de-la-Madeleine, juste après le Hurricane Fiona. So I'm not going to hold this stage very long. I'm very honored and proud to introduce to you Jonathan Pedneault, and he was just in Îles-de-la-Madeleine and brings first-hand reports of the devastation created by Hurricane Fiona. And of course, as Greens, we are desperately concerned for the communities that were affected, but we're also deeply aware of the science that tells us we're in for much worse, and we must act to reduce greenhouse gases and stop production of fossil fuels, particularly the expansion of production of fossil fuels, while we still have time to avoid the worst. So, avec ça, je donne la parole à mon collègue, mon ami, mon partenaire, Jonathan Pedneault.
Merci, Elisabeth. Thank you. La mer, on n'a pas grand-chose pour se protéger de ça. The sea, we don't have much to protect ourselves from that. And these are the words from Jeanne Lebel, a woman that I met on Îles-de-la-Madeleine. Her house was deeply affected by Storm Fiona. Sa maison a été en grande partie affectée par la tempête Fiona. La maison de Jeanne Lebel qui me parlait justement du pouvoir de la mer, surtout quand on habite aux îles de la Madeleine, des petites îles qui se trouvent en plein milieu du golfe du Saint-Laurent, un golfe qui se réchauffe d'année en année, un golfe où on voit et on vit avec les changements climatiques depuis longtemps. It was important for me as a newcomer to politics to go to Îles-de-la-Madeleine as soon as possible. Part of my previous work as a journalist and a human rights investigator was to fly to the places that hurt and the places that have experienced difficulties to speak with people. And I come to politics with very much the same state of mind that as someone who seeks office, one should be there when people are in need. One should be there to listen to them, one should be there to ask questions, and one should be there to report back. And that is precisely what I'm doing today. J'arrive en politique avec l'idée et mon bagage comme journaliste et enquêteur des droits de l'homme. C'est un travail que j'ai fait pendant plusieurs années et c'est ce qui m'a motivé à me rendre aux Îles-de-la-Madeleine dès que possible, justement pour entendre la voix des personnes qui sont le plus affectées. Je pense que c'est important non seulement de les écouter, de leur poser des questions, mais de revenir après pour rapporter ce qu'ils ont à nous dire and what they had to say in Îles-de-la-Madeleine. Despite the fact that they're incredibly resilient people, they're people who live with storms, they all said that this was one of the worst they had ever seen and experienced. And that despite investments in adaptation that did take place on Île-de-la-Madeleine. Évidemment, les îles ont été extrêmement affectées par la tempête. Évidemment, les Madelinots, les Madeliniennes sont des gens qui sont résilients, qui sont habitués aux tempêtes, mais ils ont tous dit, sans exception, que c'était une des pires qu'ils avaient vues, cette tempête Fiona. Et là, évidemment, ça va demander des gros investissements en infrastructure, ça va demander de l'aide justement pour s'assurer que les maisons soient reconstruites. Je veux parler d'adaptation un tout petit peu ici. I want to talk about adaptation because adaptation, as we know, is how we will face climate change. Our Ministry of Environment is about to release its national adaptation strategy. And I personally think it's a bit of a shame that it's taken so long for the Liberals to devise one. The project started in June 2021. So that's a little bit over a year ago. And from what we know of the adaptation strategy that should be released in November or in the coming weeks, most of their goals are long terms, and they start in 2030, which is way too late because, as we know, not only in the Atlantic provinces, but throughout Canada, communities are faced with climate change. They are experiencing firsthand the consequences of liberal and conservative inaction on climate for the past few decades. Je veux parler d'adaptation ici parce que, comme on sait, le gouvernement fédéral va présenter sa stratégie nationale d'adaptation, ce qui est la manière dont comment on va faire face justement au changement climatique. Et ça a pris un bon 8 ans avant que le gouvernement libéral se décide à plancher sur ce sujet-là, un sujet qui est évidemment extrêmement d'actualité présentement. Je suis assez déçu que ça ait pris autant de temps, non seulement pour mettre en place ce projet qui a commencé en juin 2021, mais encore plus déçu de voir que là, selon ce qu'on en sait jusqu'à présent, les objectifs de cette stratégie ne commenceront à être mis en place qu'en 2030, ce qui est bien trop loin, bien évidemment, à un moment où la plupart des communautés à travers le pays ressentent déjà les impacts des changements climatiques. Il faut se rappeler qu'on est à 1,1, 1,2 degrés d'augmentation des températures globales. Et si on se réfère aux accords de Paris, on cherche à maintenir ces températures-là bien en deçà, dit-on, de 2 degrés. Là, on se dirige sur la base des promesses qui ont été faites par les différents États vers un avenir où on aura une augmentation des températures de 2,7 degrés d'ici 2100. Donc évidemment, d'une part, les promesses faites par les États ne sont pas suffisantes pour garder nos températures en deçà d'1,5 degré, mais en plus de ça, on voit qu'à 1,1 degré, on a déjà des conséquences catastrophiques, pas seulement au Canada, mais partout dans le reste du monde. Et là, ça pose la question, mais qu'est-ce qu'on fait pour se préparer? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait pour investir en infrastructure pour protéger nos communautés d'un océan à l'autre? We have to remember that all of this is happening at 1.1 or 1.2 degree of average temperature increase. And let's remember that the Paris Agreement is hoping to keep our global average temperature increase well below 2 degrees. But we know, based on the pledges that various states have made, that we are likely to experience an increase in temperatures of over 2.7 degrees by the end of the century. Let's remember again that storms like Fiona, these are storms that we experience now with an average increase of 1.1 degree. And that raises the question, well, what exactly are we doing to prepare our communities from coast to coast to coast to face these storms, to face these exceptional, but less exceptional every year weather events? Le rapport du 4 avril du GIEC disait qu'il faut qu'on réduise nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre de 45% d'ici 2025. Malheureusement, 2 jours plus tard, le ministre Guilbeault, évidemment, donnait son approbation à Baie du Nord. Baie du Nord qui va être opérée par une compagnie norvégienne, une compagnie nationalisée par l'État norvégien. Les profits du pétrole canadien donc, vont se retrouver dans le compte en banque de la Norvège, qui va aider justement la Norvège à faire face, à investir dans l'infrastructure nécessaire pour s'adapter justement au changement climatique. Puis pendant ce temps-là, nos ministres libéraux, nous, après Fiona, encourage le public canadien à donner à la Croix-Rouge. Donc, on remet le fardeau de l'adaptation, on remet le fardeau de la réponse d'urgence sur les payeurs de taxes canadiens plutôt que d'investir en amont pour justement éviter des dommages significatifs. On parle de 300 à 700 millions de dollars juste à cause de Fiona et c'est bien évident qu'on aura de plus en plus de dommages. The IPCC report from April 4th was telling us that we need to reduce our emissions by 45% before 2025. 2 days later, Minister Guilbeault was approving Baie du Nord. Baie du Nord, another fossil fuel project off the coast of Newfoundland, which will be operated by the Norwegian state-owned company Equinor. Equinor, which of course brings all of its profits into the national treasury of Norway. These these profits, the profits from Canadian oil, will help Norwegians invest in adaptation structures. And meanwhile, our ministers here are, after Fiona, are asking Canadian taxpayers to fund the Red Cross, the Canadian Red Cross, to help with emergency help for our friends in the Atlantic, instead of having planned for such events as they need to, as is their duty, as is the duty of government, to plan for contingencies. So it's so crucial that we protect our communities. The federal government has a role to play in coordinating the provinces in funding adaptation strategies, but that work cannot start in 2030. Le gouvernement fédéral a un travail à faire pour protéger nos communautés d'un océan à l'autre. C'est essentiel qu'on investisse en infrastructure pour faire face à des tempêtes comme Fiona. On sait qu'on va en avoir de plus en plus, mais ce travail-là ne peut pas commencer en 2030. Il doit commencer maintenant. Merci.
Merci, Jonathan. Je vais ajouter seulement quelques mots parce que c'est difficile pour nous comme Verts d'expliquer le niveau de menace. It's really difficult, I find, as a Green MP, as someone who's been working on climate issues since 1986, I find it difficult to talk about the scale of the threat without sounding like some kind of doom and gloom prophet of the end is nigh. That's not what we're saying. We're saying we have hope now. We are not hopeless. We are not helpless. We have every opportunity to do what's required in the window that the IPCC has given us, that science informs us, and yet we act as though we can't hear, we can't see, we can only walk off the cliff in front of us as much as we've been warned. So we stand here, Jonathan and I, to say as co-leaders of the Green Party of Canada, we want to ensure that we are the voice of Canadians who know that we need to stop expanding fossil fuels, cancel new fossil fuel infrastructure, and pay attention to taking care of communities now to save lives now and not wait, as Jonathan said, to 2030 to put in place adaptation strategies. So with that, je vais arrêter maintenant, and we're open to any questions that anyone may have. And we do encourage people to look at our campaign to be co-leaders at jonathanpedneault.ca and elizabethmay.ca. We are available for any questions outside of this press conference as well. Thank you. Merci. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions?
We do not have any questions on the line at the moment. If there's anything else you would like to add?
No, I thank you very much for being here, and we look forward again. This leadership race has excellent candidates. Some of us are proposing the co-leadership model for the Green Party of Canada as our colleagues. The Green Party in New Zealand, where 2 Green members of Parliament are in the cabinet. I will a nod to New Zealand. Yesterday, Green Party MP and Minister of Climate for New Zealand, James Shaw, announced that New Zealand is in principle also joining Vanuatu, ready to sign on for the treaty for fossil fuel non-proliferation. So we're very pleased with that. But also co-leaders of the German Greens are now in the cabinet. Annalena Baerbock, Robert Habeck, you've heard their names. They're the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Environment and Economy, Green MPs who have been co-leaders for the German Greens, Green co-leaders in England and Wales, Green co-leaders in Scotland who are in their cabinet. It's not an uncommon structure within the Green Party family. The only party in Canada that currently has co-leaders, of course, is Quebec Solidaire. But we will be bringing, we hope, with the support of the membership, this change to ensure that we're able to be a very effective political party in Parliament where I work, and that Jonathan Pedneault will be, as you can see, a very articulate and brilliant spokesperson, and also job sharing with me until he gets into Parliament to make sure our party is election ready before the next election. And we're quite confident we'll do it. Thank you very much. Merci mille fois, Megwich.